Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to take a look at booking systems and booking forms that capture the information you need to run your forest school sessions, or whatever sessions they may be. There are certain bits of information that's really important that you capture for safety reasons, for effective running of sessions in general. Now I'm going to be talking through how to set it up on Bookwhen, because that is the booking software that I use, and it's one that I do recommend. I'm not sponsored by Bookwhen or paid by Bookwhen at all. It's just the one I use. I've found it has a lot of the functionality that I need. It's at a price I need, and it's worked for me so far. So we'll just go through that. But if you're using a different booking system, or just pen and paper or email or sending out a Google form, a lot of this will still apply. So if you want to know more about booking fields, getting set and ready for taking your first bookings, then keep watching and see you in a moment. So here we are in the scheduling page of Bookwhen, and the first thing we need to do is we need to create the booking fields we want to be able to use on our forms. So we're going to go over to settings, we're going to have a look at booking fields over here. Now the first thing that's really important to understand is over here on the booking fields type. So this is which people or how often we're going to record information from people per booking. So you might have a family book on, in which case it'll usually be one parent doing the booking, and then there will be one or more children, and you want to capture different information. There's generally a body of information that you want to capture from just the parent, and then there's one that you want to capture for each individual child, so you can know whether there are any specific needs that each individual child will require. So attendee details here are the ones related to the child. So there are a few things that you could capture, and some of them apply if it's an adult booking, and some of them would only really make sense children. So right over here we can create a new field type. There we go. So if would you like to subscribe to YouTube? So we have our field label, so that will show up and that will inform what it is. So it might be, are there any allergies or dietary requirements? Would you like to be subscribed to an email address or something else? And then there's any other text that you want to add in about it. Join the Outdoors channel. And then we can decide what sort of data type we want to collect, whether we want to collect a single line, so something like an email address, whether we want to have a multi-line, which would be like, okay, are there any special dietary requirements, which might require almost a mini essay for some children. And then we can add a checkbox, yes or no option. So we'll just go, there's a drop down list, there's a few others, so just have a go, choose the one that's right for you. So I'm going to add a yes or no option. And then yes or no option there. And then we can have a look at again at this, which information capture is it. So this is something that I wouldn't want to gather from every single child on this, or every single attendee, because essentially it will be from one household. So I wouldn't want to ask whether each individual child wants to be sent a link to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Instead, this is something that would go under the booking section. And those are the primary two we're going to use. So booking is once per event. It's recording information generally from the parent or the person booking. And then attendee, as I said, is each individual person there. So I'm going to put it underneath the booking tab, and we can scroll down and we can create field. So you need to do that for all of the fields that you want to create. And as you can see here, down at the bottom, booking details, we have our option that we've just created. Once you've got all of the fields that you're likely to capture, you don't need to use all of them for booking forms, so it might be good to tailor some towards adults and some towards children, or some towards a certain type of event. So if I was just running a I don't know, just a walk without any food, I might not ask about allergies, but it's generally a good idea to do so anyway. So you can tailor it a bit once you get to the actual booking form itself. But for now, we're going to have a look at setting up a booking form for a specific event. So if we go over to scheduling, I'm going to drop into children's activities. I've been having a play around with this entry here. So we go edit entry, then over to booking form, top here. Okay, so one of the things that will always be gathered is the email address, because they'll need an email address to sign on to the Bookwhen platform. And that's a good thing to gather, because you know who to email, and you can generally quite easily download a CSV file and have all of the email addresses there, and you can send out a mass email to the participants for a particular session. But if we want to modify the fields on here, we go to select and reorder fields. As you see, we've got a few down the side here that are already grouped into attendee fields and booking fields, and we just go add a plus or minus. So what are the most important things to gather from your groups? I would say one of the first important is the name of the parent. So you know who to contact, who's the point of contact for the session. Basically, if you need to send out a message to to a specific person, having the parent name is really useful. It also helps us build rapport when we first meet them, as we can go, oh yes, it's so and so, Chantal or Lauren or whatever, and we can then kind of establish that connection as early as possible. The next most important thing to gather from the parent is going to be an emergency contact number. Now this is one that's well worth stressing that people fill out, because I've had before where people enter the same number for emergency contact as number and then physically attend the session. So it's no point me having the contact number for them if they are at the session. What I need is an additional contact number. So it might be worth adding a little bit extra note, because if, say for example, I had a parent bringing 2 children to a session, if that parent were to slip and fall and hit their head and needed a hospital trip, I've now got 2 children and I don't know who to contact. So there needs to be an emergency contact outside of the session. If the parents are dropping off the children, yep, that's different. Then we can say, but in general, it should be emergency contact number is an additional number to the first one, phone number. So we gather name, their own phone number, and then another different phone number. So I have someone to contact if something were to happen to them. Just like I have details for contacting my emergency contact with me on sessions, because I need to, if something happens to me, I need someone else to be contactable. And then I'd say the fourth thing I try and gather is I try and gather a subscription to a mailing list. So would you like to be kept up to date on other activities and free resources? Click that, then that way they can move over to my mailing list, and then in future if I'm advertising a session, I can send out an email to them. It's important to have a privacy policy and so on attached to that. So those are what we are gathering from the parent, and these are mainly contact details. We already have the email address, and then it's the emergency contact details, and then a possible newsletters or mailing list subscription. Then we can look at what we want to gather from each individual child or person attending the session. So these are the things that help us ensure the safety of the participants. So useful to have a name, that way you can attach to that information. Age is a handy one to have as well, because then you can start tailoring your sessions. You can go, okay, if I have majority 4 or 5 year olds, I'm going to run a slightly different session to if I have majority 9 and 12 year olds. So age helps us bracket things a little bit and see where the weighting of the session is, particularly for mixed age group sessions. You can go, okay, well, I'm going to try and hit most of the children with this kind of activity and then have this other activity as backup. So really useful and good to have name. Then we have a look at special needs and or requirements. So this is where we're asking essentially about learning difficulties, mental health problems, disabilities, anything like that. And that's obviously key for us to design around the session, so we can go, okay, do we need to ensure that we stick to an area where there's wheelchair access? Do we need to make sure that there is space or be conscious of the child during a certain type of activity? This is good to have as a general thing on all booking forms. And then more important than ever, we are going to need to gather allergies and dietary requirements. This can be anything from actual land you in hospital allergies to food intolerances to preferences. Try and make this as broad as possible, because it will really help you try and plan food for sessions. It's good to know whether you have any vegan children, whether you have any people who only eat halal meat. There's a broad range of different allergies, diets, and so on. This is essential to capture, and I believe that every booking form should have that, because I mean, even if I'm not serving food, if I'm snacking on peanuts before a session and I have a child coming in with a nut allergy, who knows how sensitive they are. It's really critical, really important. If there's an adult handing out biscuits that you weren't aware of, knowing to say, stop, hey, this child has a nut allergy, this child has a dairy intolerance, whatever. Can we make sure that they have the right food? Yeah, and then the other thing I capture is photo permission. So this is where I try and take photos during my sessions to share on social media, so that I can keep for marketing purposes and so on, It's really important to gather that permission from an adult, and then also gather it from the children as you go. So that will typically have an option for saying no to photos, saying yes but restricting it to photos that don't show faces, or finally just yes to all photos. And it might be a good idea to say photos or videos, because there is a difference, and a photo is just that snapshot and can be changed, but video really captures a lot more. So if you're going to capture video, it's really worth stressing that you will be doing that. So there we go. So we can shuffle these around, set them up in any order we want by just dragging the three lines to the left. So your name, phone number, emergency contact number, kept up to date. So we save that form. Then we can, if we want to, set mandatory fields. So we can have a look at which ones we want, which sections we have as optional and which are not. So if you're gathering things like how did you find out about us, or what's your favorite color of Easter egg, or whatever, that stuff may or may not be mandatory, and you can choose to tick or untick those. That is pretty much it. You can set up this in a way in the original settings where it will automatically populate onto all of your events, but chances are they're going to be events where you need to tailor it a little bit. So there might be weekend camping trips that you need to gather a lot more information, or there might be really short walks or craft activities that don't need as much. But I'm going to say that there are a few critical things there to gather. As I said, for every attendee, a name, any additional needs, dietary requirements, and photo permission. Those are the four really critical ones. And then gathering from the person making the booking, which is usually the parent, it's their name, contact details, and their emergency contact number. Those are the 7 things you really do need. I'd add in mailing lists as a good optional extra. If you haven't seen my video already on why you should have a mailing list, you really should have a look at that. So there we go. That is it, plain and simple, what you need to have on a booking form to ensure the safety and the efficiency of the sessions, and to make sure that we are providing the most we can for the people attending. If you enjoyed this video, do drop a comment below. Let me know if there's anything that I've missed off the booking form that would really be worthwhile adding. And if you have another platform that you would like me to take a look at and describe how to do it, work with it, then let me know. Otherwise, make the most of every day, and I'll see you in the next video.